bilang ang Open Table Church or Open Table MCC ay naka-sabbatical ngayong buong buwan ng August, I just want to make some recommendations on certain, movies, documentaries, and articles or books that might be helpful for our members, leaders, and other people following Open Table Church and our online content. No, dahil ito, sabbatical nga is wala tayong operations. The church will not gather. There will be no Sunday gathering, and there will also be no new recorded preaching or worship for the whole month of August. Nakapahinga talaga ang church. Ang mga tao sa church, ako, the leaders of the church, nakapahinga ngayong August. But again, I want to make some recommendations on what you can watch, what you can read. Although meron pala kaming Sunday, meron pa rin kami ipapublish na Sunday preaching, past preachings na I think are still relevant for the community of Open Table MCC, at may mga lessons doon na still relevant and might help us in our process of renewal. These are some of the other suggestions if you wish to learn in terms of watching, reading, and listening. Some are documentaries, some are books, some are articles. So for documentaries, sa YouTube merong 2 documentary doon. If you want to get to know more about MCC through the life of our founder, Reverend Troy Perry, you can watch the documentary titled Call Me Troy. No, merong 2 versions niyan sa YouTube. Yung isa may caption, yung isa wala. You can watch it, and it's a very compelling story. It is the story, the biography of our founder sa Metropolitan Community Church, throughout the founding of the church, of the gay liberation movement, the LGBT movement in the early days, and so on and so forth. Maganda siyang I hope you will watch it and find something really intimate and touching and wisdom sa buhay ni Troy. There's also this series sa FX channel. I don't know kung paano nyo mapapanood. May mga ways tayo para mapanood yan. Pero mayroong isang docu-series sa FX channel. Ang title, one-word title is Pride. And andun din si Troy, no? A very brief portion, and ay andun si Troy Perry. So watch that. It's a documentary about pride, about the LGBT movement in the United States. It's a good series, docu-series. Another is sa YouTube ay pala yung For the Bible Tells Me So. For the Bible Tells Me So. Yan ang title. Pero i-check nyo maigi kasi siyempre yung ganyang title na For the Bible Tells Me So, baka maraming ibang mga videos pop up about that. But there is one documentary, For the Bible Tells Me So, and it's a documentary looking at the church, and the change in the church, and the explanation of the LGBT affirmation and biblical interpretation. Bakit meron ng mga churches ngayon na mas LGBT affirming na. At maganda rin to, iba't ibang stories din ng mga families who had the process, parents who had the process of eventually accepting their children, their LGBT children, and also changing their theology, no, around around LGBT, about sexuality. Ito lalabas pa lang sa August 1st. No? On August 1 sa Netflix, a documentary titled Pray Away. Pray Away. Okay? It's a documentary exposing the danger, the terrible paano ko ba, isang napakasamang pangyayari o ang napakasamang movement ng ex-gay conversion sa Amerika, no? At yung sabi nga nila pseudoscience, pseudopsychology, trying to cure you and to pray away your sexualities, particularly homosexuality or transgender identity, and how that movement has ine-expose niya kung paano yung movement ay paano yung movement na yan ay nag-cause ng damage and death of many LGBT people, and how their leaders, ang magsasalita doon ay mga leaders ng ex-gay, particularly Exodus International, ay magsasalita retracting and confessing and asking forgiveness for what they've done. So watch that. It might be a very heavy documentary, but I think it's a good documentary for all of us to watch, whether you're LGBT or an ally, or even someone who watch it if you are also someone who's anti-LGBT. For movies, siyempre palagi namin ito nire-recommend yung Prayers for Bobby. Has something to do with a little bit about conversion therapy. It's a very compelling emotional movie, particularly kung kayo ay LGBT, kung manonood kayo at kayo ay LGBT. So kanina sabi ko yung Pray Away is a documentary, no? Ito naman movie. A movie, I think it is in the 60s or 70s, about conversion therapy, no? Si Russell Crowe saka Nicole Kidman yung parents na pinadala yung kanilang anak sa isang conversion therapy camp. So the title of this movie is Boy Erased. You can search that, find a way to watch that. Another good LGBT movie, local ito, yung Rainbow Sunset. Alam niyo na siguro yan, kung hindi niyo pa napapanood, or maganda siguro kung panoorin niyo ulit. No? Eddie Garcia, yung bida, Tony Mabesa, saka si Gloria Romero, no? At other great cast. So Rainbow Sunset, isang nakakatuwang movie, lesbian movie, yung title ay Si Chedeng at si Apple, no? By Gloria Romero. Lesbian si Gloria Romero at best friend niya si Apple. So it's a lesbian movie played by Gloria Romero. Title, Si Chedeng at si Apple. Of course, yung movie na Mamu, sa mga hindi pa nakakapanood, maganda rin yun. It's about a transgender woman adopting yung kanyang pamangkin na transgender din. And you know, it's a good film about parenting, an LGBT parent, a transgender mother parenting also a transgender child. So maganda yun, nakakatuwa pero malalim. Watch nyo Mamu. And of course, pwede ko ba namang hindi i-recommend ang series na Pose. If you haven't watched it or haven't fully watched it, watch Pose. Ako bilang pastor, bilang nagseminaryo, there are so many things in Pose that I can, you know, associate, or I can connect, or I can see the parallels sa gospel message, gospel story. Sobrang yaman ng kwento ng series na Pose at yung iba't ibang characters doon, that many of them are, for me, very biblical, theological, spiritual. Ang daming pwedeng matutunan sa series Pose. And I think many of us need to watch it several times over to really get the richness of the lessons, the wisdom, even theological wisdom of the series Pose. Sa Netflix, meron sa Netflix ang Pose. The movie The Shack, isang napakagandang, well, I have a few icky moments there, pero overall, it's a really good film representing God. The problem of evil and God and suffering and vengeance, forgiveness, etc. Isang napakayamang film, spiritual film, yung movie na The Shack. Isa rin sa pinakagustong-gusto kong series, no, na nakakatawa, pero napakalalim. Brilliantly napakalalim na series ay yung The Good Place. No, apat na seasons lang yung The Good Place. It's really good. Very, very good comedy series that has brilliantly integrated philosophy and ethics, and the big questions of life and existence and morality. Napaka-juicy. Watch, kasing juicy ng Pose in a different way, in a different manner. Watch the series The Good Place. I don't know if available pa siya sa net. I think it is still in Netflix. Please don't miss that. Watch that series. Another local, some independent films and documentaries. Hindi na ako magpapangalan ng mga specific movies, but any film, short film by the filmmaker Gio Potes. Ina-upload niya yun sa YouTube. I think dalawa doon or tatlo doon are award-winning films, short films, independent films ni Sir Gio Potes. And also the award-winning filmmaker, his films, Moro, from Mindanao, no? A Moro filmmaker, some of the films and documentaries of Radem Musawa. So search them. I just don't know if yung documentaries and films ni Radem ay available sa YouTube. Pero search nyo na lang. I know kay Gio, many of his films ay available sa YouTube. I also like the film, pinanood sa amin to ng professor ko nung sa seminary. The film is Meet Joe Black, na pinagbibidahan ni Brad Pitt. It's an old film about death and also the big questions about life, living your life, and what is really important in our lives. So, Meet Joe Black, starring Brad Pitt as Joe Black. There's also a good film. This is very Christian, very Roman Catholic film, pero it's a heavy film, but it gives you a lot of things to think about in terms of the Christian faith. The title of the film is Silence. It's about a movie about Jesuit missionaries to Japan. At the time na bawal ang maging Kristiyano sa Japan, and that you will be killed if you are a Christian sa Japan. So this is a really good film. I think Martin Scorsese yung director or producer ng film, not sure. And si Liam Neeson, tama yung pangalan ng sa Liam, isang sikat na male actor, together with yung isa sa mga gumanap sa Spider-Man. So silang dalawa ang main actors doon. Very good film. Of course, if you haven't watched, especially sa mga millennials, kung hindi nyo pa alam tong film na ito, it's a comedy satirical film, Dogma, by Ben Affleck at yung best friend niya, na nakalimutan ko ang pangalan. It's a satirical comedic film about about Christianity, about God, at yung God na pinakita doon ay si Alanis Morissette. So it's a very entertaining film, but also makes you think about many things about religion and Christianity. So watch that. It's an old film. Another old film also by Brad Pitt is 7 Years in Tibet. It's a really good spiritual and life film. Yan. Ano pa ba? Napakaraming films. I cannot go on and on and suggesting. But these are some of a few suggestions I have. Bilang tayo ay nakasabbatical ngayong August. Ngayon kung sa mga mahilig naman magbasa, readings or audiobook, any book by the Franciscan priest Father Richard Rohr, last name spelled as R-O-H-R, Richard Rohr. Nag-guest na rin siya ni Oprah sa kanyang nag-guest na rin siya ni Oprah for some of his books on spirituality. So maganda yan, magaling yan si Father Richard Rohr, a contemplative Franciscan. For social justice books, I recommend, and ito's required itong basahin sa amin nung nasa seminaryo kami first year, yung Pedagogy of the Oppressed by author and educator Paulo Freire. Last name is F-R-E-I-R-E, Freire. Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And then another book by him is Pedagogy of Freedom. And of course, Liberation Theology by the Roman Catholic priest Father Gustavo Gutierrez. If you want to read that, if that is even available, or meron namang mga articles, videos about Father Gustavo Gutierrez, articles about Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, and I don't know if if available siya, or basta ma-search nyo na lang sa Google, or kung meron kayong Scrib subscription. Again, Father Richard Rohr. One of the most brilliant people that I have known in terms of biblical studies, yung professor ko sa New Testament, si Revelation Belunta, meron siyang blog, Reading the Bible Inside the Jeepney, or Jeepney Hermeneutics. And you can visit his blog, jeepney.blogspot.com. Search niyo siya. He is a brilliant writer and interpreter of scripture, homiletics. Ang mga sermon niya is just, less than 10 minutes. Hindi pa nga yata umaabot ng 10 minutes ang sermon niya. But he writes short homilies that is really compelling. And many of those ay nandun sa kanyang blogspot. Sa kanyang blog, jeepney.blogspot.com. Ano ba? Short novels, books by Paulo Coelho are good. Yung sikat na Alchemist, the book Alchemist. I like yung book niya na By the River Piedra. I sat By the River Piedra, yung title. Paulo Coelho. I also like yung 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, na merong sequel na The Next Person You Meet in Heaven. Author is Mitch Albom. Siya rin yung author ng Tuesdays with Morrie. Ayan, film din yon. It is a book and it is a film. Watch Tuesdays with Morrie. It's a very good old film. Mga millennials, kung di nyo na alam yan, younger generation, watch. It's a very good film. Another book, I haven't read this, but I think it's a very good book, yung Learning to Pray by Jesuit priest Father James Martin. No, and Father James Martin is a Roman Catholic priest who has a particular ministry for LGBT Catholics or LGBT in general, and meron siyang book, yung Building Bridges, also about LGBTs in the Roman Catholic Church. Explore nyo, tingnan nyo. And of course, I mean, in all of this, and when we are in sabbatical, siyempre, basahin natin ang mga Bibles natin. Read our Bibles. Especially if you are Christian, if you are an LGBT Christian, if you are a progressive Christian, you still have to read the Bible. We still have to read the Bible. Hindi naman like lahat-lahat, no? Siguro recommendation ko for August, if you can read the entire Gospel of Luke together with the Book of Acts of the Apostles, kasi same author lang naman yung nagsulat ng Luke at ng Acts of the Apostles. This reading both books will take you less than an hour or maximum an hour for the Gospel of Luke and the Acts of the Apostles. I think it's less than an hour. The book of, sa Old Testament, the book of the prophet Amos, hanapin nyo sa Bible yung Amos. Wala pa yatang 30 minutes, tapos nyo na. Baka 15 minutes lang yung book of Amos. And then, I also recommend reading from the Bible yung the first letter of John. Not the Gospel of John, but if you want to read the Gospel of John, go ahead. Gospel of John and the first letter of John. Sa first letter of John, chapter 4, dun yung makikita yung cliche saying na God is love. Doon galing yun. So, first letter of John. And the Gospel of John. Lastly, siguro, read the letter of James. The letter of James, also in the New Testament. Read and reflect and pray on those books of the Bible. And I recommend that if you read the Bible, you read from the New Revised Standard Version or NRSV. Another recommendation is the English Standard Version or ESV version. Ano pa ba? Maganda rin ang if you have an Oxford Annotated Bible, good din yan. NRSV naman yan, pero good yan. Ano pa ba? The New Jerusalem Bible. Iniisip ko. The New Jerusalem Bible, that's a good version of the Bible. More Roman Catholic, but it's a good translation. And lastly, the last, sa YouTube, I really like the videos ng Philosophies for Life. The YouTube channel is Philosophies for Life. And they have all these short, well, not really short, mga 15 to 10, 15, 20-minute videos. Some are 5-minute videos on philosophies. No? And I particularly like the videos on the condensed insights of Marcus Aurelius. Particularly yung mga Stoicism. And a few videos, meron din silang videos on Confucius and other Asian or Chinese philosophers. So, I recommend that. And last, meron kaming podcast, hindi open table, pero ako at isang Methodist na guy, married straight guy, na si J.R. Kanda, meron kaming podcast sa Spotify. Ang title ang channel is Holy Shit, Usapang Bawal. And we already have the first season namin will have 8 episodes, 7 or 8 episodes. Naka-upload na ang, I think, 5 or 6 episodes, and we have been talking, several community pantry, sexual harassment, mental health in the church, And yung last namin na kaka-record lang namin is church and politics in the election. So, please support that podcast. You just want to listen to it, to a conversation, nakakatuwa, nakakainis, at mapapa-holy shit kang, I hope mapapa-holy shit kayo dun sa mga usapan na yun. Listen to it, no? Holy shit, usapang bawal. And again, for Open Table MCC, you can still watch all our past content. We have a lot of video and podcast content. Just look for Open Table MCC sa Facebook, sa YouTube, sa Spotify, sa Apple Podcast. We are also in Instagram and in Twitter. So, this and napakarami pang mga ibang mga suggestion, books, Marcus Borg, if you know Marcus Borg, one of my favorite New Testament scholars. So yan. So I hope we will all have a really good Sabbath this August for our church, and that some of these recommendations you will take a look, you will consider, and learn something new from this recommendation. This is Reverend Joseph San Jose of Open Table Metropolitan Community Church. Rainbow blessings, and God bless you all.